Hi, and welcome back to Becca Babbles Podcast. I'm your host, Becca. I'm a certified personal trainer, holistic health coach, and future chiropractor on my way to figuring out this thing we called life. Now, let's get babbling. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Becca Babbles Podcast. And guys, it's happened. It's done. I officially graduated. I'm officially a chiropractor. It still hasn't hit me fully yet that I am actually a chiropractor, which is kind of insane. Yeah, I just me being like, oh yeah, I'm Dr. Patterson. I'm like, who's she? But I actually did it. Looking back, I remember first starting chiropractic school and definitely being like, this is what I'm gonna do. Like, no one's stopping me. And I was thinking oh, I don't even know if I thought it was going to be hard. I just knew that I was going to do it. I didn't think about the consequences behind it. And then of course you hit that first exam in our class. We called it DAA, or I think it's development of anatomy, something, but applied anatomy, something like that. And then it hits you that oh shoot, this is actually going to be hard. um, and I think what's really cool is the fact that I created episodes of each trimester along the way on this podcast. So it's really sentimental to me to be able to create this one and final podcast about chiropractic school. And I'm not saying that I'm going to be ending this podcast whatsoever, because this podcast wasn't meant for my chiropractic journey. As far as chiropractic school goes, it's meant to help people truly live healthier lives and grow beyond just exercise and nutrition, but also their mental well-being, their financial well-being, their just me growing, and through my growing, allowing you guys to grow as well. And this is an end of an era. I feel like I've been telling a lot of my friends that right now it kind of just feels like that it's not even that I'm ending a chapter in my life and starting a new one, that I finished a book and now we're on to the second book of the series. And I'm really excited to see where all of this goes. I'm going to give you guys all the updates, but I also want to give you guys insight into what Try 10 is actually like, because of course I do these reviews and recaps and stuff like that, and it's not just all about me. I want to give you the heads up on everything. But I just want to say, if you've listened to even one of these podcasts about chiropractic school, and then maybe you started listening to another one of my podcasts where I did an interview or just a solo podcast, I just want to thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to what I have to say and finding value in it and continuing to listen, because I wouldn't be here continuing to do this if you guys weren't listening. So I just want to put that out there, that thank you so much for listening to me and putting your earbuds in and going on this journey with me, because I thought that I would continue this podcast as long as I have, and how much joy it's brought me, especially through school. Um, this has been something that I've held on to so much through school, that I truly care about when grades are coming in and you don't know if you passed a test or not, or chaotic things are going on in your life. And this has always been a solid foundation for me. So just thank you for listening. And before I get super emotional, I'll give you guys the rundown of exactly everything I'm going to talk about today. So of course, I want to talk about graduation, what all that was like, all the feels, and my CBI, of course, and everyone's CBI. And if you go to a different chiropractic school, it might just be called your internship if you don't, because ours is called something based internship. I don't even remember. Clinical based internship. Yeah, that makes sense. Clinical based internship, but we call it CBI for short. But it's basically just our internship. And then kind of what is expected of you in Try 10. And then how graduation was for myself and what's coming up for me. And also I wanted to give a little bit of advice when it comes to like after Try 10, what you should be doing right now during either Try 10 or even if you're listening to this before Try 10, or maybe you just graduated and you're like, what do I do? So I don't have all the answers. I've literally just started, I'm recording this the day after graduation because your girl has been busy. I was like, I got to get this podcast in before I leave because if you've noticed, I've kind of been traveling a lot recently, which I'll give updates on that as well. And I am hoping to be able to continue this podcast on a consistent basis. I know through chiropractic school, it was like weekly, and then now it went to bi-weekly, and I missed, I think, last week, but I was traveling and I tried my best. This is a solo thing. A lot of people ask me, do you have like sponsors? Do you get paid? Do you have other people editing all this stuff? And I'm like, no, this is like a solo gig. This is just me. I don't get paid for it. It brings me a lot of joy, and I love just helping people, informing people. And this is something that I wish I had when I was younger. So that's why I just continue to do it. But I will say, if there are sponsors out there, that would be nice. um, but again, I don't do it for that. I do it for you guys. But besides that, graduation, that was crazy. It was, it kind of felt like I was playing dress up, not gonna lie. You're wearing this like big gown thing that makes you kind of look like Lord Farquaad. A lot of my friends were like joking that I looked like him, but there was definitely a dude in our tri that looked exactly like him, which was hilarious. Um, and you go through the routine of everything, and I was like shaking. I don't know why I was nervous. Like, yes, I was wearing heels, even though one of my friends says it doesn't even count as wearing heels because I guess it was like, if you're watching the video, it was literally like this big, and to her, it doesn't count. But I'm like, hey, I wear zero drop shoes and I would rather be barefoot. So getting me in heels in the first place, any sort of wedge, is shocking. So, I was like, don't trip and fall. And then it was funny because everyone tells you to like be present in the moment and soak it all up and all this stuff. And for me, I was trying to do that, but you just walk across that stage and they put that little like shawl thing on you, which I was so pumped that Cody DMAC was the one who put the shawl on me. And then Dr. Brandon Beckerman, he's actually been on the podcast before. He was my doc in student clinic, that they were the ones that were able to like put it on me and then fix it and stuff like that. So that was really awesome because they were really impactful in my school career as far as like the direction on who I decided who I wanted to become as a chiropractor, and just continuing to pour into me as a student. And you can just always tell that they are trying to get better, not only for themselves, but also to educate us and to further push the career along. It's like, if you've ever had a teacher where you just know that they are not just here for a paycheck or to just like teach the curriculum, they are actually here to get you better. That is definitely Cody DMAC and Brandon Beckerman. They're just amazing human beings. So I just want to put a thanks out there to them. And it was impactful that they were able to then be able to do that at my graduation. And then you walk across the stage, and all I'm thinking is just get to the end of the stage, shake this dude's hand, and then and shake it, don't trip and fall, and then shake the next person's hand down the way. And then it was funny, they gave us this coin for Parker with like some of the sayings. And it was like, it felt like a drug deal, not gonna lie. They had it in their hand and they just slapped it into our hand. I swear that thing was ingrained on my hand. They slapped it into your hand and tried to like be really slick with it and shake your hand, and then you walk off and you take another picture, which was great. Like, I need as many photos taken because with the amount of hair I have and the amount of hair that goes everywhere, and I'm not like super photogenic, so it takes me about like 10 photos to at least get one good one. That it's great to have all the opportunities to get all the photos. But honestly, the biggest thing was being able to see all my friends again. It's weird going from I've literally grown up with all these people for like 3.5 years now. That sounds crazy to say. I still feel like a baby. Most of my friends would say I'm still am a baby, but like they're just old, so it's fine. But I've grown up with these people and I've changed so much, and they've been by my side the entire time. And to not see them for like 3 months because I was at my internship is weird. And then at the same time, knowing I get to see them again and then leave again. And hopefully I stay in touch with most of them. Like, I know life is going to get busy and stuff like that, but going from probably not seeing them again is going to be really hard. Like, I know it's nothing to compare to being like in the army or something like that, but like we went through battle together. Like, there were sleepless nights, there was stress, there was boards, there was exams, there were practicals, there was like having 3 new professors in the first 3 weeks of school for one of our classes. That was utter chaos. So there's a lot of chaos and like holding hands and being like, we're gonna make this together. And then being like, okay, now you like separate from your tribe. It's gonna be something new and different, but you carry those memories along with you, and yeah, just go on to the next book of your life, I guess. Uh, but it was great to see everyone and to like officially say goodbyes, because those ones that you do the last day of student clinic, like some people are done, some are not, and so they're showing up and you're like, wait, is this the last time I see you or not, is really weird. So then to actually be able to see everyone at graduation was great. And thankfully, because a lot of my family lives here in Texas and I had a bunch of family from Arizona come up and see me, there was like a big group of them. So having all those congratulations there was awesome. So if any of you guys are listening to the podcast, again, thank you so much for coming and just congratulating me and being there to celebrate. It really did mean a lot. And because if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably like me, where you're just a type A go-getter striver. Like, you're going from the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. Like, I'm so, especially now being in chiropractic school, you're like, you finish one test, you don't even congratulate yourself and you go on to the next thing, because like, what, you don't have time to celebrate. You don't have time to stop, because if you stop, that's wasted time to then be ready for the next thing. And it can be hard to then slow down and actually realize, like, whoa, this is a big thing. And I don't just have to jump to the next thing. So having people there to like actually be there to congratulate you and celebrate you means a lot. Because it at least it allows me to actually like slow down, appreciate, like, no, I put in a lot of work and I deserve to be celebrated. And having people there recognize that and acknowledge that is really helpful. So yeah, just again, lots of thank yous in this podcast. So yeah, so that was graduation. The craziness of graduation, that felt like it was going on forever, but then also within 2 seconds, which is crazy. So once you get to experience graduation, like it's this weird, like, you have 10,000 pounds lifted off your shoulder because you're officially done, but then you're also like have this question mark of like, what the heck am I going to do with my life next? Because if you know me, I'm a bit of a planner, and this last year has been really hard for me. I love to, at the beginning of the year, kind of sit down, get my thoughts together of like, okay, what are my goals? What do a lot of it surrounded around chiropractic school, but also just envisioning like what kind of chiropractor I want to be and what do I need to do to get there, things like that. And it might not exactly be completely structured. Like, I think about my podcast and all this stuff, how I can make it better, all the things. And this year was really hard for me because it was literally student clinic and taking boards, passing those, and then hopefully getting into an internship, not knowing where that internship was going to be, where I was going to get in. And then from there, it's also, I graduate, but then I also know I need a job. I don't know where that job's going to be. What am I supposed to do? And for me, that was really hard. Like, there was no plan, there was no structure. There was just, okay, just hit the markers that you need for student clinic, and then hit the markers that you need for your internship, get into an internship, and like just really crush those interviews and continue to reach out to connections to hopefully get a job, and then pray for the best. Because ultimately, like, the biggest lesson that I learned this year is letting go of control. Like, I've probably said this multiple times on the podcast because that is just something that has been a big deal in my life that I've had to let go, whether that has been because of health issues, different like family circumstances and things like that. But ultimately, like for me, a lot of you guys know that I'm deeply rooted in my faith, and praying to God and just being like, you're in control. Like, you know the plan, you know what's best, just give me the next step. And honestly, I've been really grateful for that lesson and for those feelings this year, because it has just made me lean on him deeper and more and harder. And also just the friendships that he has given me, and being able to reach out to them, and them being a stable foundation for me as I'm like going through all the feels and different directions and things like that. So if you're listening to this, you guys know who you are. So, yeah, so again, thank you. And I will say that with all the questioning of where you're going to go and what should you do, and figuring all that out, whether you got into the CBI you wanted to get into or not, like, you can still have a great experience. I remember being back in Tri 9, hoping that I got into a good CBI, or my idea of like having a good CBI was like it was life or death situation. And honestly, it's not. Like, every internship is going to have its good, every internship's going to have its bad. It's just what you make of it. Every single situation that you are in is an opportunity to get better, whether it is the opportunity you wanted or not. And I know like a few of my friends, like they didn't exactly get what they wanted, but they still made the best out of it and they had a great experience. But then there was some of us where like we did get what we wanted, but it wasn't what we thought. And that was a little bit disappointing, but we still made the best of it. Again, I think I said this in my Try 9 like recap. A 3-month CBI is never going to prepare you for practice. The first 2 years of practice will. And granted, I have not been in practice yet. Like I've done other things like personal training, nutrition coaching, stuff like that, but I haven't been a chiropractor yet out in practice. But from what I've heard from my other friends who have been in practice for at least a year or more, they have agreed with that statement over and over and over again, where it's just like you're drinking from a fire hose again, like you were in Try 2. Like, it's gonna be utter chaos, but you're gonna figure it out because you did it before. I think it's looking back and being like, even though it's different situations where it's like, whether it's school, whether it's you have a patient in front of you and you have no idea what's going on, like, you've done hard things before and you can do it again. And that's something that I'm just gonna continue to remind myself as I like start practice is hard things are going to come, and they may be different, and I may have not experienced it before, but I have experienced hard things. And so that tells me that I have like pulled on that muscle, and I have been able to get through it, whether that is by myself or with help from like either connections, friends, things like that. Like, as long as your heart is in it and you continue to remind yourself what your why is, you will be able to figure it out, or at least be able to lead that person in the right direction. And that is something that I will continue to do. And I encourage you to do that as well. So that was my very long roundabout way of like going into talking about my CBI. So if you guys didn't already know, I went to Troy, Missouri, which if you don't know where that is, it is like 45 minutes away from St. Louis, Missouri. And it is the really cute town. Lots of farmland. I enjoyed Troy, Missouri more than I thought I was going to. I At my CBI, I was very much told that I was a city girl. I didn't think I was. Like, I knew that I wasn't in the country, but I also, like, when I think of a city, I think of Dallas. I think, like, you have to have skyscrapers. You have to, like, have tons of traffic. And I soon realized by some of the other interns that were at Winchester Spine and Sport that no, I am very much a city girl, or at least grew up in one. I think it was one of the interns had said, if you have a grocery store that is less than 15 minutes away, you are in a city. And I went, there's no way. And I was like, well, I've got Target that's like 10, maybe 8 minutes away. I've got a Costco that's like 15 minutes away. Yeah, I've got like Target and Walmart that are like within like the same distance. They were like, yeah, you're definitely a city girl. And I was like, okay, I don't know how I feel about that, but yeah, I don't know. I guess hearing that I'm a city girl was just a weird thing, or I didn't like it very much. But I will say that like having so much space and greenery and being able to like, well, I say slow down, but like almost that peace was really nice. It almost makes me like want to have a farm even more, or at least a garden, which like makes me really excited for my next adventure ahead, which I will get into later, on all the things that I hope to do as an official adult, even though I am an adult. But the the space and the animals and the people there and the pace they were all so sweet and kind, and I loved that part of it. If you saw me post on Instagram a few times, I would work out in the morning and I would be outside of the house that me and my roommate were in, and I would see the sunrise come up as I'm working out. And I just like, I am a sucker for a sunrise and I love it. And just having the sun just beat down on me as I'm like working out in the morning, it was the best way to start my day to get me ready to go into my internship. But I truly enjoyed Troy, Missouri more than I thought I did. Like a bunch of people were like, why the heck are you going to Troy, Missouri for your internship? And I was like, well, it's not a vacation. It is an internship. It is education. So like, that's why I'm going, because I know I'm going to learn from the best of the best. And like I said, I wanted to learn from the best of the best. So that's why I decided to go to Winchester Spine and Sport. Brett Winchester has been one of my mentors since like try one. He, he is one of the big motion palpation docs that I was introduced through going to MPI Club. And I think I didn't know of Brett till like probably try to, because I think that's when I went to Adjustathon, and all of the MPI docs go to Adjustathon, which I'm really excited to be able to go there as a doc, because I've been to Adjustathon as a student 3 times. And so the next time I go back, I can actually do the doctor track, which is going to be really exciting, just to kind of see like what that perspective is like. But that's when I was first introduced to Brett. And I automatically knew that like he's an amazing adjuster and an amazing clinician. And I also learned that he has so much knowledge in DNS, which is something I've talked about on this podcast a few times, and something that I've been extremely interested in as a treatment option. And I knew for me, like my biggest goal going into my internship, especially that one specifically, was I feel like when you are taught DNS through school, that you are still taught in a way that it feels like an exercise. Like me just going to the gym, doing an exercise and like building muscle. But to me, I knew it was more than that. Like there's something more than that. I didn't have that connection or understanding yet, whether it was because I haven't done it enough, whether I needed a different explanation from someone else. And when when applying to Winchester was an option, I was like, okay, yeah, no, I'm going to do it. And so I applied and I was like, I'm going to figure out like where this misconnection of DNS is coming from. And I definitely got it. Like, yeah, it's really cool to see like to get someone in a position and see their scapula like shaking like crazy, or like someone gets done and they're like, I felt that in my entire body. And for me, DNS now isn't just like someone has forward rolled shoulders, I'm going to put them in like a 3-month prone, or like they have, I need to work on their deep neck flexors. Like I need to do 3-month prone or something like that. It's, no, I need to reset their neurology. I am trying to decrease all the trigger points and then go back, recheck, be like, okay, what melted away? What needs to like continue to be released through me manually? And that's another thing. And I was talking to some of my other friends is like, I am so grateful that I went to Parker because I believe that, like, again, because of Marianne DMAC and Cody DMAC and Frank Lopez, and I'm missing a ton of other people, but like all of those people being like Dr. Hollinsworth, people like that, just promoting this like active rehab. Oh, LAK, like all of these like promoting active rehab and the importance of rehab, and not just like, okay, we're going to be doing these banded external and internal shoulder exercises, but especially Cody DMAC, like kind of just talking about these different ways of rehab and introducing me to DNS, to neurodynamics, to kettlebell training that isn't just I'm doing exercise with a kettlebell, like actually learning different movements and things like that. They were really big in my understanding of rehab and making it better, not just doing exercise. But sometimes I feel like we can be really heavy handed on the exercise, where it's like all it is exercise. Like it's almost bad to touch the patient. Like you shouldn't be doing passive modalities, or at least that's what it almost felt like. But when I got to Winchester's and I realized how many passive modalities they are using, and they're using it for a purpose, I think that was my biggest thing. Was I had seen a lot of other clinicians, and whether it was chiropractors, PTs, any other career path or industry, I had a bad taste in my mouth about passive modalities because I had seen it used just because like they could make an extra buck with insurance, or they put them on there, but it wasn't necessary for them to actually put it on there, to put them on, like, let's say like an e-stem or laser or shockwave or decompression, things like that. They just put them on there just so that like they could make an extra buck or make the patient feel like they're getting some sort of treatment done, whether they knew it was helping them or not. And there was no thought process behind it, left a bad taste in my mouth. But when I actually went to Winchester, he actually taught me and the other interns the importance of being a manual therapist, the importance of rubbing the boo-boo for the patient, the importance of doing, like, whether that's soft tissue, whether that's dry needling, laser, shockwave, things like that, and acknowledging where exactly their pain, where they're feeling their pain, but also putting your hands on people more than just adjusting, made me realize the importance of that. And I appreciate that because that changed my outlook on passive care, because I want to be a well-rounded clinician. I don't just want to be a better version of a PT or like a personal trainer, because I already was that before. And I went to chiropractic school for a reason, and I put more tool belts or tools in my tool belt for a reason. I don't just want to go back and be a PT. So again, not to knock on rehab, active care, and all that stuff, because that is still something to my core and I will carry it with me. But I think it goes back to the fact of like always being open-minded, always wanting to learn, and always like taking something from someone. You can always learn something. And that was a big eye-opening moment for me, is realizing like, oh, I went to school to be a chiropractor, and part of being a chiropractor is also being like a manual therapist. And I kind of like went away with that. And I remember telling my friends, I was like, I hate doing soft tissue. Like if I don't have to do soft tissue, I'm not doing soft tissue whatsoever. And honestly, now that I understand the importance of it and when to use it and when not to use it, I actually enjoy doing soft tissue. And that's just my personality. If I don't truly believe in something, then for me, it feels icky. It feels gross. And I can do it, but I'm not going to continuing to do it because I feel awful about it. So yeah, manual therapy is actually really important, and make sure you actually do it with your patients because they will love you for it. But speaking of patients, the people in Troy, Missouri were just amazing. Like the experiences that I had with patients, not only just like the treatment that I had with them and getting to learn about all these different cases. Like I was working on an ACL case, post surgery. There was a spondy case, like a softball player with a spondy. She was specifically a pitcher, which was really cool to see. I had a lot of softball players at that clinic, which was awesome. And there was a lot of babies, pregnant moms. Those were fun to work with. I had some really complex cases with Brett Winchester, so that was really cool too. And just to see the way, like, I know I'm saying Brett Winchester a lot, which like learning from him was great, but also the three other docs that were there, Austin Parker, Evan, shoot, I don't remember his last name. I feel so bad right now. um, why? Anyways, Evan was great. He's honestly like my annoying older brother. Man, I miss that guy. And then Cassie, all those docs are amazing. And I am so happy that I got to learn from every single one of them. And also the CA that was there, Danny, she's amazing. Everyone I could learn something from. So I feel like a lot of the times when people go to Brett Winchester, they're like, I'm only going to learn from him. If you want to go there just to learn from him, like that's wrong. You need to be able to like learn from everyone. But again, even if you're not going to Brett Winchester, because of course there's like other places to go to, you can learn from every single one of the docs, not just the main person that you're going to learn from. Like again, learn from everyone is kind of basically what I was trying to say. But then also going back to the patients, like I had this one guy where he had extreme mid back pain. And most people would think, okay, I just adjust the mid back and work on like T spine rotation and stuff like that. But he had it to where when he breathed in, you should like your belly or your abdomen should expand outwards, and then when he breathes out it should come back a little bit. For him it would go in on the inhale and out on the exhale, which is kind of like reverse of what you want it to be. And I just sat there teaching him breathing and IAP for the longest time. Sweetest man I've ever met, super funny. And to see these like minor changes over time of him getting better with the IAP, with the breathing, with creating that pressure within his abdominal wall to be able to stabilize his low back and to retrain that pattern and just see his like tissues melt away to where they weren't so tense and tonic anymore, and to see his spine just create more mobility because of his ability to actually descend his diaphragm and create that pressure was so cool to see. And I just loved every time he came in. Like, I don't know if he noticed it. He probably noticed it like week 3 that we were working together, but I noticed it. Austin Parker noticed it. And we noticed it like the second week that he was there, that he was already making changes, which is really cool. But something that also made me realize is that you have to continue to tell your patients, like reassurance, reassurance, reassurance. That was something that Brett Winchester like ingrained into our heads, is the importance of reassuring your patient that um, you shouldn't have to sell your treatment constantly because that's exhausting. But there is a part to it to where like you need to reassure your patients that like it is working and what you are seeing, because it's easy for me as a chiropractor going through school to just be like, of course, like your pressure is getting better, your mobility is getting better, your tissue tone is decreasing and all this stuff. But patients don't necessarily always understand that or feel that. Like, they're like, I still have pain. And so they might not notice the change until like 4 to 6 weeks later, but they are making change, and you need to acknowledge those things. So I hope to carry that forward with me. But he was a really cool case. That softball player that I was talking about, that was a great case because I literally started with her and then finished with her, which was really cool to see. And I will say it's really hard leaving there because the patients that I had there, you not only love learning from the cases, but I just love them as human beings and getting to know them and learning about their lives and stuff like that. Like, I had this one case where he had a concussion, and we would just talk and mess around, and just hearing about the updates of his life and him growing as a human being, like that was really cool to see. And that's something that I'm extremely grateful for, as being a chiropractor and seeing people on a day-to-day basis, just to see the updates in their lives and things changing, and being able to be a person who gets to be a part of someone's life and someone's journey. But yeah. The other thing about Brett Winchester's that I thought was really cool was that we got to do an intern curriculum. So every like Tuesday and Thursday, we learned about a specific area of the body, and we either had a lecture or we were doing hands-on stuff. So that was really cool. Most of the time that was led by either Evan or Austin, and they would go through like just this, like, Austin would have so much research. Like, if you knew that dude is like always into research. Like, he is the research guy, and I am so appreciative to be able to learn from him, because like I try and like dig into research. I love digging into stuff when it comes to like nutrition and like women's health and stuff like that. But he's just on like another level, especially when it comes to like chiropractic care and just working with the body and things like that. So it was really cool to learn from him and like gather all the resources that he was like, you need to read this and you need to read this and you need to read that. So that was really cool. And then Thursday mornings, we always had a talk with Brett Winchester on what he calls it factor, because he thinks and I also think it's extremely important, not just to be like a good clinician, be smart and be able to like know all the things, be able to know when to do all the things, but also to communicate with patients, to be able to talk to patients, and just there is an energy that you put off, and that energy could dictate whether someone comes back to you or not. Because if you're nervous, if you're shaky, if you're saying all the time, and you're not necessarily explaining everything or managing a case very well when it comes to being able to talk to a person, even though you're doing all the right things treatment wise, again, patients they didn't go to chiropractic school, they don't know. So your ability to be able to talk through a case, to reassure the patient, to create a positive environment for the patient is extremely important. And so that's why Brett would go through this it factor talk with us. And honestly, I just loved being there, because then I could pick his brain and he would just sit there, and it was like, it was an hour where we could just like ask him all these questions. Like, there was one day where it's like this huge PowerPoint slide, and he would go through it for the whole 3 months we were there. But there was one day we were there, and I think we only got through like 2 slides, because me and one other intern just kept asking him question after question after question, and just like wanted his thought process. And he's just such a great storyteller, to where you could just learn so much from him, because he's learned from so many great mentors, but then and colleagues and things like that, and been able to interview, because he had his own podcast for a really long time. So being able to learn from those people through him, but then also him himself, the amount of patients he's seen, how long he's been being a chiropractor, and things like that. There's just, again, so much to learn from him. And I was extremely grateful that he took his Thursday mornings to actually be able to talk to us. So that was really cool and something I really enjoyed specifically from my internship. And those are things that if you haven't like gone through picking your internship yet, that I would ask. I would ask like not only like, okay, will I get all my adjustments? Will I be able to treat patients and stuff like that? But like also, will you be teaching me like how to communicate with patients, how to become a better clinician, not only just through like adjusting, which again is extremely important, but also how to manage a case extremely well. So, because those were things that I found extremely helpful at my internship, not only just the like the physical things you're doing with patients, but also how you're communicating with them and managing a case. But yeah, so that was the internship itself. Unfortunately, you will still have assignments from school. So those MCOs just keep coming. Again, that's specifically a Parker thing. I don't know. There was another intern there who he was from Logan, and then there was one from Northwestern, I think. But they they also had assignments, but I'm not necessarily sure if they were specifically MCO assignments, which if you don't know what an MCO is, it's basically when you read your syllabus, because you definitely read your syllabus every single time you start a class, right? Um, those like where they have like the numbers and then it says like they will learn blah blah blah. Those are the MCOs that you're hitting, but specifically in Tri 10, and you've probably, again, if you went to Parker, if you were in Tri 8, Tri 9 doing those MCO assignments, you already know this, but you have to do assignments to then meet those MCOs. So you do have those again in Tri 10, unfortunately. But what I did appreciate was the fact that like they all open up at the same time. So instead of like in Tri 8 and Tri 9, where it was like it opened up like week 1, you could only do week 1 MCO assignments. Weeks 1 through 9 were all open, which were all your MCOs, and you could get them all done within those like first 4 weeks. Like I remember me and my roommate, we had a Saturday and a Sunday off. So for me, my work schedule was like we were booked. I was working like all week long. And so when we had a Saturday off, it was like, you better like rest up, but you also better make that a productive Saturday. So we used that Saturday and Sunday and we just sat and watched like Disney movies, whatever movie that Mike was like, you definitely need to watch, because I guess supposedly everyone tells me that I don't watch any movies or any good movies. So I need to be educated and cultured. But we watched like a ton of movies while we were just doing all these assignments and cranking it out. So I highly encourage, like, I know, again, you're probably tired. You're like, I just don't even want to open up my computer. But if you can get those done at the beginning of your internship before you're like exhausted, tired, and definitely don't want to open your computer, like get it done as soon as possible, fast. And then they usually turn it around pretty fast. So if like you need to edit anything, then you can do that, and then you can be like, bye-bye, I don't have to deal with this anymore. Because for me, I also had my functional nutrition masters that I was working on at the same time, which was a handful and a half, especially when we got to that last class where it was my capstone, which honestly, I will probably do a podcast on my capstone just because it is something that is extremely important to me. But it's hard because I like to do podcasts where I talk about like things you can do, which there are things. It's just hard because what I did mine on, there's not a ton of research about it, and that's why I talked about it. And I'll just give you a little snippet here, but there's so much information and talk right now about menopause. And again, I'm not here saying that I'm a menopause expert right now. Like, I am still learning about it and will continue to learn about it. But I feel like there's a lot of talk about like exactly what to do right now, like when someone hits menopause or has all these menopausal symptoms. But my question is, why does one woman have extreme menopausal symptoms when she hits menopause while another one may have symptoms, but it's not as extreme? And for me, I was like, I want to answer that question. And there is an experiment that was done like a really long time ago that is completely unethical now and will probably never be repeated ever again, but it's called the Minnesota starvation experiment. I've talked about it a little bit on this podcast, but yes, it was done on men, but you can still use a lot of that information for women and the effects of starvation or what's called low energy availability on the body. And unfortunately, especially with like diets and skinny talk and just perceptions of women and stuff like that, women tend to undereat, eat whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, and tend to have a lot of body shame when it comes to like feeling like they constantly need to get smaller. And they have many periods of their life where there are big life stressors physically on the body, whether that is going from childhood to puberty, and then from puberty and potentially going through pregnancy, and then pregnancy to postpartum, and then postpartum to then transitioning into menopause. And yes, you could be eating food theoretically, but A, are you eating enough food? And then also, are you eating whole foods? Because the reason why it's important to eat whole foods is not just because like the big thing is talking about like people overeating and like whole foods like almost giving you those natural breaks of like when to stop eating. But it's not even that. It's you're getting your minerals. Like that is something that I'm learning more and more where it's like whole foods are important because you get the minerals that you need, and minerals are spark plugs for every reaction that you have in your body. And then like those spark plugs then like help the reactions that then create the hormones. So, but if you're not eating food, you're not getting those minerals. And yes, you could take supplements theoretically, but supplements can also put you out of balance because food tends to have like the balance of minerals that you need because one mineral can affect the levels of another mineral. Anyways, long story short, that was my literature review that I wrote and then a research proposal that I did. And I was doing that while I was in CBI. And so I will, again, probably do a podcast on that. But that is not the podcast for today. The podcast for today is about Tri 10. So yeah, so you'll have other assignments in Tri 10. So just make sure you stay on top of those things. But also, again, like enjoy your internship and like ask so many questions. I was really appreciative of I keep just calling him my roommate, but it was Christian De Hoyos. I was really appreciative of him and him being there. Man, that dude could be a hoot and a holler and like a lot to handle, but like I was appreciative of him being there at the internship because that dude asks so many questions, sometimes even more questions that I can even think of. And I was like, that was a really good question. I'm super glad he asked that because then I can learn through you and learn through the questions that you ask. And he kind of just put a positive impact on me about like, if you think of a question, like ask it. Don't even ask yourself, is that a dumb question or can I answer it myself? Just ask it because maybe they have a different perspective on the question that you're thinking. So keep asking questions, even if you think it's stupid or not, because they may have a different answer than what you're even thinking, because you definitely don't know it all and you know less than you even think you do, especially as an intern. So, and especially because you're about to like go out on your own. And right now you're kind of being handheld still in your internship. And there's going to be a point where you're going to have to let go of that hand and you're going to be out on your own. And you're going to be like, oh man, shoot, I wish I asked that question. So ask the questions, even if you think the question is stupid. But yeah. Okay. Last but not least, I'll get into what is next for me, which is crazy. And then also I wanted to talk a little bit about jobs because I feel like actually I'll go into that first. Jobs, because I know that's a really stressful thing right now. And I've had a lot of people ask me questions as far as like, how'd you get your job? Like, what should I do? I'm so terrified. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, and all these things. And then some of the struggles that I've seen with my friends going through. So again, I don't know all the answers. This is the experience that I had. And looking back, either A, what I wish I'd done or what I was grateful that I did do, not knowing what I was doing at the time, and like some advice that I was given throughout chiropractic school. So with jobs, it's really hard as a chiropractic student to be in like try 8, try 9 and ask for jobs off the bat because people are like, well, you still have to go through school and you still have to get your license and I don't know if I want to say, hey, I'm going to give you a job now. So I would urge you not to just like be searching for jobs like off the bat, but be creating connections and informing them that you're interested. So for me, what that looked like was going to a seminar, talking to a doc at a seminar, or shadowing a doc, or being on social media, finding a doc that I really liked, or there was a podcast and they were on it, and starting to follow them and like reaching out, being like, hey, could I shadow? Like, shadow, not only to learn, but to create connections and keeping those connections. I think myself included, and other students, you create these connections at seminars, but then you kind of just like, you leave it and you never stay connected. You kind of just, you have the phone number and it's floating in your phone, but you never actually like reach out to them because you may think it's weird, or you don't want to bother them. But like, obviously in a nice manner. Like for me, like what that looked like was I reached out on like holidays and was like, Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving, Happy New Year's. Did I hit every single holiday? No, but I still reached out and it was touch points. And then for me, I kind of had like a mid chiro school crisis where I was like, it hit me and I was like, what the heck am I going to do post school? Like, I want to make sure that I have a job, because I know if I was to graduate and I didn't have anything lined up, I'd be freaking out. But then also, I wouldn't be able to pick the job that I wanted. Now, again, it's going to be different if like you decide that you want to open up your own practice, like obviously start thinking about that. I wasn't thinking about that. I knew I wanted to work for someone straight outside of school. So I don't have very much advice when it comes to starting your own practice and what that looks like. But, um, I would say like create dedicated time about thinking about your thinking about your practice, thinking about the name, thinking about like where you're going to start, where you want to be, location, how you want. I wouldn't even necessarily think about like how you want your clinic to look like, because I know in school they make you like draw it all out. But if we're all being honest with ourselves, like, unless you got a lot of money coming out of school and you didn't worry about like student debt and stuff like that, most of us are probably going to like start off in a tiny little studio or in the side of like a CrossFit gym or something like that. And you just have your portable table and that's where you're starting. And that's totally fine. Sometimes we have these like realistic expectations of exactly what our practice should look like coming straight out of school. And again, everyone's circumstance is extremely different. But if you have to start off small and just be in a tiny little studio, that's totally fine. You can grow and that's okay. But again, for me, I knew I wanted to work for someone because I I know some about business, but I don't know a ton about business, especially when it comes to like opening like up a practice and stuff like that. And I wanted to be able to learn from someone else, but then also like I wanted to be able to get better with my chiropractic skills in someone else's practice. And also I want to really dive deep into functional medicine and start helping people in that realm. And if I did that plus starting my own business, like those are three big new things. So even though I've dabbled a little bit in every single one of them, like it's all new and big. And I want to make sure that I always have like a Thanksgiving size plate that I'm working with and doing things with. And sometimes like my family and friends get very mad at me for that. But I also know that like I've learned slowly when that plate gets too big. And when that plate gets too big, the output that I am able to do with the quality that I want to give out isn't as good. And then I start beating myself up because I'm like, why the heck am I not doing as good as I wish I was or want to be doing? And it's probably because I'm not a robot and I'm a human being. And there's only so much you could fill into your brain at one point. I think for me, a lot of the times it's like especially when I was younger, I always questioned like, am I smart enough? Like everyone's smarter than me. am I good enough? All this stuff. So then I would throw a bunch of things on my plate, hoping that I'd get there faster. Because if I did all these things, if I learned all these things as fast as I could and just shove it in my brain, then I will like catch up to everyone else. And that's not necessarily the case. I've learned like really focus on like one or two things and hone in and get good at that. And then you'll learn about that really well. So then when you jump to the next thing, you can use what you learned from that first thing to get better at that second thing. And then that just like you keep stepping up the ladder rather than, I had a friend recently say that their mom would tell them, like, you can't jump up a ladder, you have to step up the ladder. And that's something that I want to take with me is remembering like there are steps to get there. You can't just hop up there, whether that is like a goal that you want to reach or someone you want to become. And for me, I feel like that hits deep with me just because of how I thought about myself when I was younger, or thoughts that I sometimes think about within myself of, am I smart enough? Am I good enough? I'm falling behind. And it's like, no, you just need to focus on where you're at right now, get really good at that, and then add the next thing. You don't have to add it all right now. So that's why I decided to end up being an associate. And also right now, I feel like there's like a feeling you have in your like in your body where either owning your own business right now really resonates with you or it doesn't. And for me, it just does not resonate with me. To where like I have a friend where it really resonates with him with starting his own practice, and that's great. And I hope the best for him, and he's going to be doing amazing things. But again, for me right now, it just like that doesn't resonate with me. And if it doesn't resonate with you, then it's probably not going to be a great decision for you to do. So if you want to be an associate, things that I would stress again is like make connections. Like connections are your biggest thing. Whether you end up working for that person or not, they may know someone. And so there were people where like, whether they were chiropractic related or just like within the health and wellness field, that I would stay connected with. And I would reach out and say like, Merry Christmas, happy birthday, or like comment on their Instagram stuff and like stay connected. Like make sure they know your face and your name. Because if you just randomly like pop up on a LinkedIn thing and say like, hey, I would love to be your associate, or like, hey, are you looking for someone? They're kind of just like, I don't know you. And then you would have to go through that whole like interview process, which you're still probably going to have to do, but it looks better and you have more of a choice if they know you as a person first. So again, make those connections and just hold on to those connections. Especially within those like younger tries, I'd say around like try 9, even maybe try 8, like reach out and be like, hey, are you looking for an associate? Because if they weren't looking for an associate, they can start thinking like, okay, I actually really like this person. And they can start thinking about, okay, how can we figure out ways to like maneuver money within our practice so that we can afford this person when they graduate, because it takes time. Rather than right as you graduate, be like, hey, do you have a job opening? Because then you might have to wait. And you also have student loans that are like hovering over your head that you know you're going to have to start paying. So, but that's not the worst case scenario. You can always go work at the joint and like increase your skills there as you wait for that person to be ready. So, my biggest thing when it comes to jobs and like being an associate is like get those connections early, maintain those connections, whether it's just a simple hello, hey, I'd love to call you, I have a question about a case, or just Merry Christmas. And then like try 8, try 9, start asking like, hey, I love learning from you. Would you be looking for an associate anytime soon? Or do you know of anyone that is looking for an associate? Because typically, if you like a specific person and what they're teaching and what they're doing, they would probably have someone who is a close related friend that may be doing the same thing that you'd be interested in. So again, don't be afraid to ask questions and keep those connections growing and expanding those. So those are big things. Another thing is depending on where you think you're going to practice. For me, it was kind of hard because like I have no dependence whatsoever. I am completely independent. So I was literally like, I will go anywhere. I don't care. I would prefer somewhere with mountains. And so that's kind of what I would tell people, but I didn't really have like a specific place where I wanted to practice. So it was kind of hard for me to like figure out where I was going to do my application and license and stuff like that. But if you do know where you're going, let's say you're like, I'm going to Arizona for sure. Like that is where I'm going to end up in. Look to see if you can start that application process for your license before you graduate. Because I know Arizona specifically, like it takes a long time for people to get their license there, which can be really frustrating. But if your state lets you apply while you're still in school, or at least start the process, that can make things a whole lot easier. Now, some states don't let you do that, which is really unfortunate. But if you can start that process, I definitely would start that process. So like for me, I'm going to be starting up in North Carolina is the plan for me right now. I was able to get a job with Dr. Mackenzie. She's an amazing human being. And I'm so excited to start with her. She's actually been on the podcast, which is really cool. And kind of having this like full circle moment of she was the person who I reached out to and was like, when I was having a mid-chiro school crisis, and I was like, what the heck am I going to do? Like, I want to work somewhere where like I actually enjoy and can also be mentored and all this stuff. And I reached out to her. She actually said no to me at first, which is the really funny part. And like it was one of those like bittersweet no's where she was like, no, but let's stay in touch. And I was like, okay, we still got some hope here. And I just continued on my way, asked other people and stuff like that. And then she came back around and told me that she wanted to hire me. So that's really exciting. And I can't wait to start. That's like, I can't wait to move and I can't wait to get started and again, start that new book of my life. And thankfully, North Carolina kind of lets you start your application before you graduate. So I'm already in the process of doing that to then get my license. So then we can just like hit the ground running and I could start seeing people, which is really exciting. But yeah, so that's kind of the biggest update with me about what's coming next is I'll be somewhere new again. Like I know these last couple of podcasts I've kind of been in different areas every single time. But again, I feel like this podcast is just you and me talking. So it doesn't really matter where I am. So the podcast can always go with me anywhere I go, which is really exciting. But yeah, that's kind of the new thing for me is going to North Carolina, starting at Core Foundations Chiropractic. So if you are in like the Raleigh area, I would love to see you. I would love to connect with you. You know where to reach me. And I'm going to be starting there. I'm going to start at her practice, start doing chiropractic work. And then 2027, I'll start getting functional medicine patients, which will be really exciting because I just, I can't wait to start helping people. And I can't wait to be that guide along people's side and help them with whatever circumstance that they're in to help them stay active, reach their fitness goals, have more energy, whether that's through nutrition, whether that's through chiropractic care, and just help people accomplish their goals. Like I love hearing people's success stories, and whether I get the recognition for it or not, knowing, like seeing that smile on that person's face where they're like, I just ran my first 5K, or I just hit this squat, or like I was able to lift my arms up overhead, and grab something out of the cabinet that I haven't been able to do in a really long time. Like, or simply just like, I had this one patient where she was like, she couldn't unfasten her bra. So like, she had to have her husband every single morning help her like put on her bra and take off her bra. And those are just little things that impact people's day that they don't think about until they can't do it. And then once you're able to bring that back, like that just brings back so much independence. And see, like my grandma is here with me this week for graduation and stuff. And she is almost 90 and she is kicking it. Like she is, she has a walker now. when she like goes on long walks, but she's able to walk around the house. She's cooking, she's cleaning. Sometimes it's almost annoying because she wants to be cooking and cleaning all the time and like doing things for me, but like this woman is moving. And I just hope that every single person that I end up working with, they're able to continue to do that, because in a world where like everyone is like almost being forced to be sedentary, or in an environment where like sedentary is the new thing, and not moving is a thing, and like door dashing everything is like a thing, creating that independence for someone to have the ability to be like, you know what, I want to start a garden today. I want to take charge of my health, that I can be the person by their side to help them take charge of their health is really exciting. So I will definitely have more updates along the way, because like things are changing. I will say I'm going to try my best to keep this like 2 week podcast, where it's like every other week where I'll be posting a podcast. I've been trying to stack some ahead of time, but it's just been hard scheduling guests and kind of just sitting down, because I have this other job where I'm doing a lot of traveling, measuring athletes, and helping out this tech company, which is called P Motion. I definitely check that out because it's really cool. I'm trying to get the CEO to get on the podcast, but he's being a little quiet on me. So, but I'll be doing a lot of traveling in August. So again, I will do my best. I appreciate every single one of you who listened to the podcast and who have listened from all the way from when I started in the pre-DC program to now me officially being a graduate. And I'm going to need to change my intro. My intro is going to have to be like Dr. Becca Patterson now. So, which is crazy. But yeah, so I will keep you guys updated on that front, but that is pretty much it. If you have any other questions about chiropractic school, about Tri 10, about like starting as a new doc, or like anything else, just message me on Instagram at Becca and Wellness, or email me at BeccaBabblesPodcast@gmail.com, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But with all that being said, I can't wait to babble with you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Becca Babbles Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, the best thing that you can do is leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or any other listening platform of your choosing. If you want to learn more about me, you can do that by following me on Instagram at Becca and Wellness, or by checking out my blog, freebies, offers, and newsletter on my website at beccaandwellness.com. If you want to share the love of the podcast, you can do that by taking a screenshot and sharing it on social media and tagging me and the podcast at Becca and Wellness and using the hashtag Becca Babbles Podcast. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I can't wait to babble with you next time.